Welcome back. Hey, this is Marcus. Welcome back to Nights and Weekends. Um, this is episode 2. We're going to be talking about inflation, something that has been ticking me off, much like it's been ticking you off for the past, I don't know, 3+ years. So let us look at the definition of what inflation is. Inflation, let's go down to definition 2 from Merriam-Webster. A continuing rise in the general price level, usually attributed to an increase in the volume of money and credit relative to the available goods and services. That's going to come in handy a little bit later. But this is what we've been going through for the past 3+ years. And it's way higher than what it used to be back when I was in my 20s, 30s, up to just, I don't know, just till a little virus came around and then we shut down everything because we're scared. No, I'm sorry. They were scared. I wasn't. So we've done that. So let's look at how much money was spent. We can go straight to the U.S. Department of Treasury. In 2020, in March of 2020, they sent out $1,200 per eligible adult and $500 per qualifying child under the age of 17. And then a little bit later in 2021, we end up sending out $1,400 per eligible individual, or $2,800 for married couples, and $1,400 for each qualifying dependent. And the thing that's even insane, we actually did qualifying adult dependents. Again, this is something that people back, I don't know, in the 50s would have scoffed at, that we're calling adults dependent. I mean, maybe if they're, I don't know, disabled, I can end up seeing that, but just you're your person that's 26 and he's still living at the house, that's a problem. So let us go to the next part. This is how much money was spent by us, the people, on COVID. $4.6 trillion was pumped into the economy with no increase in the amount of goods, services, and products that we buy. $4.6 trillion. Let me give you some type of perspective on that. The U.S. government back in 2019, I believe the budget was around 4.5 trillion, and we spent 4.6 trillion over the course of 3 years, and that's just COVID. That's not anything additional. That's just COVID. So again, if you put a beer inside the refrigerator and it gets cold, should you be shocked? Should you turn around and be like, what? How did that happen? Okay, it happened because we pumped so much money into the economy. And we also put people in their homes and said they couldn't go to work and make the goods and products that we actually use every day, which was stupid. Let me make sure I say it again. It was stupid. And I could understand that if you were irrationally afraid of COVID, if you were in your 60s, I could understand that. But it's people my age and under who I see freaking wearing masks now and still 2024. Is this a joke?
What the fuck?
But anyway. So, according to the New York Times, because they had put out a study looking at the amount from those PPP loans, how many jobs were saved, and the cost. Let's take a look at that. The cost per job saved was $169,000 to $258,000 per job saved, when the average compensation for an average job here is $58,200. But I guess like Ronald Reagan said,
It would seem that someplace there must be some overhead.
you know, It's sad, but a whole lot of that money also went to shareholders, suppliers, creditors, owners, etc. So most of that money didn't even get to the actual employee. Okay, this is unbelievable. So for every dollar that went into wages, $3.13 went elsewhere. So for every dollar that was spent on helping individuals who worked at the job, $3.13 went to the owner, suppliers, creditors, shareholders. But again, like Ronald Reagan said,
It would seem that someplace there must be some overhead.
Sorry, I have notes.
Oh my God, who the hell cares?
So we can look at the U.S. inflation rate. Okay. I have notes over here from 2016 going forward. So 2016, it was 1.26%. 2017, 2.13%. 2018, 2.44%. 2019, 1.81%. 2020, 1.23%. And then 2021, 4.7%. And then 2022, 8%. And that's after it's been adjusted with the CPI deflator and everything else. So I know, as a person who does a lot of shopping and also a lot of cooking, I know that it's items that I can't get anymore. That used to be, I don't know, like at Walmart, $1.99 for a pound of chicken breast. It's no longer that price. And I think it's about maybe $2.30, something like that. But hey, what do I know? So let us look at, food, according to the BLS, store-bought food increased by 23.5% from February of 2020 to May of 2023. Okay. And it has on there, for those interested in making a comparison, the average hourly wages of all workers in the private sector rose by 17.1% during that time. So that's why your food costs more. Because again, you cannot tell people to make chicken wings and everything else when you restrict the actual supply of it, and then people have money to go spend on chicken wings, cars, Bitcoin, etc. The price is going to go up, because just in case you've forgotten in your very comfortable life, there's a thing called scarcity, and it exists everywhere at all times, period. Okay. So let's look at the price of cars during that time. Now, I was talking with somebody who I love, and this person said, why do we sell so many cars? Because we have to fight against that thing called entropy. Things decay, things break. Even your own body eventually one day will be in the ground. Okay? So prior to the pandemic, you can get a new car for $37,000. Let's just round it to $38,000. Now the average price of a car is $48,000 on a new car. Let's just round to $49,000. $49,000. Now, I happen to be very, very thankful and very lucky. But I can tell you this, a $50,000 car really sucks to pay on every single month, when I could have got a $38,000 car and have to pay on that. But let's say that you're like me. You're like, hey, I don't want a new car. This stuff costs too much. I'm broke. So let us go look at used cars. Oh, used cars jumped by 40% in that time too. So you think that you're going to try to save some money going to the used car market? Good luck, because prices on that went up by 40%. Now they're starting to come down now, which is good because it was so far out of whack. But again, you can't restrict supply and have the same amount of money or even more money and think that prices won't go up, because our people who provide us with our life, the people who go out there and do the hard work, like build the products that we use to survive on this planet, they have to manage scarcity. A car dealership cannot sell a car for MSRP and then just be completely out of cars for weeks and months on end. It doesn't make any sense. Unfortunately, you have to manage scarcity. Okay, so this next one, I swear I spent like 2 hours reading this thing yesterday. So this is saying essentially, did your wages keep up with the inflation? And the thing I got away from, I'm going to just go straight to figure 5. The thing I get away from it is that it depends upon when you start the measure, and if you look at it over time, this is maybe why inflation feels so bad, because prior to this life, I used to work at a completely different job, and sometimes our raises, especially toward the end of my time there, would be 1.2%, 2%, and that was if you were doing very well. So it would really suck when you would get a 2% raise and you're like, hold up, that equals, yeah, I know it says inflation's 1.6%, but my real wages went up by 4%, 0.3%, and doesn't feel like you're actually doing anything. It actually feels like you're falling behind. But if we look here, this is the annualized change in pay measures deflated using the CPI and the PCE. So if you look at this from 2019 to 2023, it wasn't even a 2%. And this right here is total compensation, median weekly earnings, and average hourly earnings. If you look at this, this is crazy. I mean, is this even, I mean, that looks like between 0.1 and 0.07 if you were to look at these two. So essentially, you've gotten no increase in your real wage this entire time. Okay, and if you start to measure in fourth quarter of 2020 to 2023, negative, negative, negative. Even though your total compensation went up probably because of healthcare benefits and stuff like that, and other perks, but your average hourly wage went down. If you started measuring the fourth quarter of 2020 up to the second quarter of 2023, your average hourly wages went down. If you look at from the fourth quarter of 2021 to the second quarter of 2023, and now they're starting to go up. But again, this looks like 1%. And your total compensation may end up being 4 at the end of the day. Again, this depends upon other things, like other things that you don't have to pay for, that you don't see earned in your check. Okay. So have wages really kept up? I'm going to say, wow, technically, maybe yes, but it depends upon when you started to measure. And I can end up telling you, I don't think I've ever worked this much in my life. And I had sat down, I did the math. I said, hold up, I just got X amount of dollars stolen out of my buying power, and I didn't vote for this, but this is what we do. Whatever. So this study is from the Brookings Institute. If you want to, I'll try my best to link it in the notes. Okay. So before anybody who is watching this video says something that will just make my head explode clean off of my shoulders, something dumb, that, oh, inflation happened everywhere. Yes, it did happen everywhere. And you know why it happened everywhere? Because everybody and their mother, especially in the first world, or in the advanced world, if you want to call it that, whatever, in the Western world, they all did the same thing that the U.S. did, other than like Sweden, at least initially. Other than that, Every country did the exact same thing. Gave out stimmy checks, ran huge budget deficits, all types of stuff that leads to an increase in the money supply. Period. And when you, again, let me make sure I say this again. When you shut down people's businesses, okay, you shut down the business, and you still have people who still have to consume. Because again, just because you shut down the business doesn't mean I don't need burgers, toilet paper. You remember all that, etc., etc. You can't shut all that down and then turn around and just be like, oh, you know what? Yeah, everything's gonna be, fine, and everything's gonna be great. No, it won't. It won't. Okay, so in my opinion, and again, much like with COVID, I guess I'm not an epidemiologist, even though I ended up being 100% correct on COVID. Okay. And I guess since I'm not an economist, I can't have an opinion either, but I'll end up saying this. If we hadn't shut down, inflation would not be what it is today. Okay. It would be way lower. And two, let's say that we did shut down. If we had shut down and actually said, hey, you all, human beings, y'all are going to eat through y'all savings, and we are not going to give you any money, inflation wouldn't have got up to 8%. Used cars wouldn't have gone up by 40% because you wouldn't have been able to go out and get the freaking credit to do it. It wouldn't have been there. Period. So the reason why we have high inflation today, okay, it's not because of the virus COVID. COVID didn't infect the freaking money printers at the Federal Reserve. It didn't do that. The thing that the reason why we have high inflation today is because you, the person who is probably watching this, getting pissed off, okay? Because you were irrational at the beginning of COVID and said, I don't care if we got to shut everything down. Shut it all down and send out money to people. And this is what we voted for. This is the society in which we live. And in my opinion, I could actually say something else, but I'm not. I'll probably piss off way too many people. I'm not going to do that. Just put it like this. This is what you get when you do what you did. Period. It's no other way to do it. Okay. And people are gonna, just in case we have some smart butts in the video, who's gonna say, oh well, I remember back in 2008, 2009 when they did TARP and inflation didn't go up and it didn't fly through the roof. That's because all of that money, for the most part, never made it out to the average person. The U.S. government, at the end of the day, or at least the freaking Treasury, well, it's part of the government anyway. The U.S. Treasury, at the end of the day, actually made a profit on TARP. Even up to the day, they are still getting payments from the zombie companies of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac that have totaled $304 billion, and they gave them $200 billion back in 0908. So let us look at that, because I was kind of shocked. I said, oh, really? Okay. So here we go. Overall, the TARP remains in the black, though just barely. So they've gotten a profit of
$100 billion. Gentlemen.
Sorry, Dr. Evil. Only $1 billion, not 100 billion, but $1 billion. Okay. So that money did not make it into average person's hands. It didn't. That TARP money, it sat on the books somewhere, and they ended up getting paid off on that. But these are two different things. And if I did not want to make this video 2 hours long, we can go back and look at the guns and butter policies of Lyndon Baines Johnson, another Democrat. But we can go back and look at that. We can go look back at all the terrible spending. Then we can look at the consequences of what happened afterwards. High inflation. It happens. Sorry. this is what we do because we're people. We want the easiest way possible to get any and everything.
But again, truth be told, if you're looking for the guilty, you need only look into a mirror. I know why you did it. I know you were afraid. Who wouldn't be?
All right. So going forward, I'm going to try my best to release these videos on Monday at about 1 o'clock. I got the stuff on inflation off my chest. Nothing I can do about it unless I'm going to be like Marty McFly and go back in time and, I don't know, stop the lab leak or at least try to tell people that it's not as bad as they think. So we're going to release a video. There's no one else here. It's just me. So I'm going to release a video every Monday at about 1 o'clock. All right. So, hey, thanks for tuning in. I'll see y'all in a week. All right. Bye.